Hello, in this video, I'm gonna show you how to install Windows from a USB drive onto your HP OMEN Transcend 14. In order to install Windows from a USB drive, this may be a bit complicated, so make sure that you watch this video carefully and follow all the steps. And first, maybe I'm gonna explain why you may be installing Windows from USB. So if you don't have access to your system right now, if it's locked with a password that you don't know, if it's corrupted and doesn't work, or if there's anything else, if it doesn't have a system at all, then you may want to get that Windows installed. And you need to know that it'll erase all the data that's on your disk, so be ready for that. And also, we may stumble across a few issues during that setup process, so it's best to watch the video first so you know which things are worth having before you start. And speaking of tools that we'll need, is if you can't access your laptop right now, then you will need another Windows device to create a USB bootable drive, and it just has to have access to the internet. And I'm gonna do it on the same laptop actually because I have access to it, but if you don't, then you should use another USB device. And of course, a USB drive that's at least 16 gigabytes, but I would recommend 32 at least. But 16 should work just fine. And also in the process, we may find out that there will be some problem with drivers, but I'm just gonna guide you through everything. And also most probably the touchpad won't be working, so just make sure that you follow what I'm saying, because I'm gonna guide you on how to use the keyboard if you don't have the external mouse. And first, I'm gonna plug in the drive to the laptop, to the working laptop. And now also to your HP OMEN. So if you're doing it on another laptop, then go back to your HP OMEN that you want to install your Windows on. And at this time, it's best to plug it in right now, so later on you're just not bothered with your laptop being discharged, because if your laptop discharges during this process, then there may be something broken afterwards. So it's best to plug it in right now, and that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so I have plugged it in. And now we can continue with creating the bootable drive on the working laptop, if you're using another one, of course. So what I'm gonna do is just go to browser and search for Windows 11 ISO. Like that. And go to the official Microsoft.com website. Make sure that it says www.microsoft.com. Now, scroll all the way down until you find Download Windows 11 Disk Image ISO for x64 devices. Select this Windows 11, click on Download Now. Now select the language, and it's important to select the correct one, because later, even if you change it in Windows, then it won't change fully, it would only change partially. And before I start downloading, I'm just gonna plug in the Ethernet cable to my adapter, because I have one, and it's gonna speed up the process. But you can also do it on Wi-Fi if you don't have the Ethernet cable or Ethernet adapter, since this laptop doesn't have Ethernet built in. Okay, and now I'm connected with Ethernet, I think. I'm just gonna double check it. I'm gonna turn off the Wi-Fi to make sure that I'm using it and start the download. Okay, so it'll be 3 minutes, and in the process, you should also get to 2 other websites. The first one is Rufus.ie. This is the exact name of the website. You should scroll down to download and select most probably the first version, but if you're using older laptop than your old HP OMEN, then if it's very old, then it may be this third option. But if you try downloading the first one and it doesn't work, then it's gonna prompt you to get another one. So I'm just gonna open that file and click on yes. Then I'm gonna click on yes, and now that Rufus is enabled, this is the tool that we're gonna use to create the bootable Windows 11 ISO. But before we start, there's also another thing that we should do, which is going to HP support website. So let's click on it. Let's type in HP support. Go to the HP customer support. I'm just gonna quickly change the language, if I can. And now you should go to software and drivers. Then go to laptop and enter your laptop model number, which will be found at the bottom of your laptop. It'll just say model, and that number will be listed at the bottom of your laptop. So now I'm gonna type it in. I have it pictured on my phone, so I don't need to check it now. It's the 14 in my case, of course. Your may be a bit different. So I'm gonna type that in. Then let's select, I think this one. Now select the Windows 11. Here you can also select Windows 11. I think it'll be working. Then click on submit. Now scroll down to driver network and find wireless driver. I can see that there are 2 of them. So I'm just gonna select the newer one, which is this one. I'm just gonna download it because we may need it in the future in the installation process if something goes wrong with Wi-Fi drivers. I'm gonna download and install manually. This is important to have that manually. Now you'll get this exe file, which will gonna transfer after creating the bootable drive. So now my Windows 11 is downloaded. So here in Rufus, I can select my USB drive first. If you have several ones plugged in, then maybe unplug the other ones to make sure that you're selecting the correct one, because it'll erase all the data that's on your USB drive. Then click on select and select the Windows 11 ISO, which is probably in the downloads folder. Now it'll scan the image. Once it's scanned, you can click on start. I'm just gonna unselect these 2 options, but if you want, you can remove the requirement for an online Microsoft account, or remove requirements for Secure Boot and TPM 2.0, depending on your preference. But I'm gonna leave it without it, so it's like the most default thing, because you may also be installing Windows 11 from a USB drive provided by Microsoft. So there's no option to change it if you've bought your USB drive directly from Microsoft. And also, if you've bought your USB drive directly from Microsoft, there's another thing worth mentioning, which is that you just can't really, I think you can't put the driver on that USB drive, so it's best to have another one, like to just put that driver on it. that's ready, so we can go to File Explorer and this PC. And then you'll see the CCCOMA whatever. Go to that drive and paste the, just drag this driver here. So I don't know if I can drag it from the browser. I'm just gonna go to Downloads, click on that, right click on it actually, on the driver file. Then click on Copy. Go to the CCC whatever and paste it here. Right click and click on Paste. Now we can begin by installing the Windows. So now we'll move on to the HP OMEN that you want to install it on. Your HP OMEN has to be shut down first. So if it's currently on, then shut it down until the light on the keyboard is off. Also make sure that it's really just plugged in, because it's very important. It's plugged into power. And then also plug in the USB-C drive. After the drive was plugged in, you should press on the power button on the laptop, and after releasing the power button, start immediately, repeatedly pressing on the escape key on the keyboard. Now you should find the boot menu. Select that, then select USB hard drive. Then you need to wait until it boots to that image, and when it boots, we'll begin with the Windows 11 installation process. And at first, of course, I'm gonna check if the touchpad is working, and it's not. So I'm gonna just provide voice instructions on how to use the keyboard in each of the steps. So if you click on Tab, then you're moving between sections of items. And if you wanna go back, if you go too far, you can click on Shift Tab, so you don't have to press Tab like that much that you go back to the previous item. You can just click on Shift and Tab to go back to the previous item. If you want to change within a section of items, so for example in time and currency format, you can change it like that with arrows on your keyboard. But it doesn't really matter here. You can leave the language and time and currency format as it is, and then just click on Next. So I'm gonna click on Tab until I'm pointing on Next and click on Space to approve. Then keyboard or input method. If you want, you can change it, but I'm gonna leave it as it is and click on Next. Of course, with Tab, then Space. Then with if you can notice here, some of the words are underlined, which means that I don't need to point onto that whole setting. So if I want to agree to the agreement, I can click on left Alt on the keyboard and D at the and A at the same time, because letter A is underlined. So I can click on Alt A and it agrees. And now I can click on Alt N to click on Next. Or you could have also just click on Tab and click on Space, of course, to approve it. In different languages, different letters may be underlined, of course. Now I'm gonna click on Alt A, but you can also use the Tab, of course, and Space to approve. Now it'll start searching for disks. And if you're not sure which disk is your internal disk, then you can see there is disk 0, disk 1. Disk 0 has several partitions, and if you sum up all the total space on them, and then it will be somewhat around my actual internal disk. So I can know that this is for sure my internal disk. And now, in order to continue, I would highly recommend just going with arrows and deleting all the partitions on the internal disk. But don't delete the partitions on disk 1, so on the external one, only on the internal one. And in order to do it, you can either select with arrows, then click on tab until you get to delete partition and so on, and click on space. But what I'm gonna do is just select the one that I want to delete, then click on Alt D. Of course, the left Alt, because right Alt may not work, depending on your keyboard layout. So I'm gonna delete all the partitions, so I'm not bothered with it. Now, once that's done, click on Alt-N to go to next, or just click on the next button. Then I'm gonna click on Alt-I to install, and now wait until everything gets installed. So I'm gonna get back to you when everything is done. I think your PC may restart up to 3 or 4 times, so you'll see the whole process right now. And now we are in the setup process of Windows. So the touchpad still isn't working. It won't be working until we connect to the internet and begin update. So the update will be in the process of setup. So at some point the touchpad will begin working. I'm just gonna unplug the Ethernet cable so I don't have internet, so I can actually install the Wi-Fi driver. And let's begin by selecting country or region. You can select it with arrows, then click on enter or click on tab until you're pointing on yes, then click on space. Now select the keyboard layout or input method, and it's important to set it right now so it just works. I'm just gonna set it to US and click on enter. Now I'm gonna skip another layout, but if you want you can click on Shift tab to go to add layout and select that. Now you can see that I don't have the Wi-Fi drivers. That's why I have transferred the driver file onto a USB. And what you should do is click on Shift and F10 key on your keyboard until this window pops up. Now click on Windows and Tab. I think. No, sorry, it's Alt Tab. And Alt Tab and keep on holding the Alt to select that window actually. Now you're focused on that window. If you're focused on it, you should be able to type in D colon for the USB drive, and then click on type in dir and click on enter. If on this list there is the driver, then you're on the right disk. But if you've moved that driver to a different partition, then you may want to type in E colon to go to that, or even F colon if it's on a different USB drive. So it just depends whether you have it on the COMA, whatever, like the name of the partition you've moved it to, or if you have it on a separate USB drive. And if you have it on separate, then probably it'll be the F colon. And if it's on the list, then type in you can just type in SP15 or just the beginning of the name of that driver, which is right here. And then click on tab to finish that name and click on enter. Now you can go through the wireless network setup. And to do it, you can just click on Alt-N to continue, right? Because there's next with the N underlined. Then I'm gonna click on Alt-A to accept, Alt-N to continue. I'm gonna leave the file folder like that and click on Alt-N. Now the driver should get installed.